taking to tackle the injustice in the Niger Delta?
Restructuring. We have to restructure Nigeria. If we restructure Nigeria, then everybody will develop at their own pace with what they have. But with the type of constitution we have today and the sharing formula that we have, where 87% of the resources that is coming from the Niger Delta is going to the federal government, and 13% they claim is what they are giving to the Niger Delta region that is producing the wealth, whereas the sharing is done in a way that the people who don't produce any oil and gas are getting more of the revenue than us, i.e. Kano State has 44 local government areas, Bayelsa State has 8 local government, Rivers State has 23 local government. When they share resources by local government, Kano State gets 44, Bayelsa gets 8. That's an injustice. When they share by state, the North gets 19, and the South gets 17. And the South, the Niger Delta that produces the oil and gas, gets only by 6 states. So when you look at it from there, it is very important that the policies are changed, and you can only do that by restructuring the country, and you can only do that by a change of constitution. And so it's quite a task, but it can be done.
Okay, so in regards to this, what should affected persons or the states itself do to ensure justice and equity?
Again, the states and the people can hardly do anything. For instance, the NDDC has been created, it's been functioning or supposed to have been functioning for the past 20 years. And yet, the NDDC is not controlled by the people of the Niger Delta. The NDDC is not controlled by the states of the Niger Delta. The appointments of the people who are supposed to function to implement what the NDDC is supposed to do are appointed by politicians, are appointed by political parties, are appointed by people in Abuja. And so it becomes a political man no man, a political payback for politicians in Abuja and politicians in Niger Delta, where an MD of NDDC at the end of the day wants to be the governor of his state because he has amassed so much money from being the MD or the or whatever at the Niger Delta Development Commission. So basically, it is still boiling down to restructuring the country. It is still boiling down to having a new constitution. This constitution is not a constitution of Nigerians for Nigeria. It is a military, it is a constitution put together by the military and hurriedly handed over to Obasanjo when he became the president-elect in 1999.
Okay, ma'am, one quick question on the Soku oil. How would you describe the Federal High Court ruling that has returned the Soku oil back to River State?
I think that is justice, because you see, before people discuss the Soku issue, we should look at the legal, how it came about. How is it that a people, the Soku people, the oil is in Soku, and the oil is taken from Soku, and Soku is still physically where it has always been, and yet the money is being paid to Bayelsa State. Now, there is what they call administrative map of Nigeria, and within that administrative map of Nigeria, the 11th map shifted the boundary between River State and Bayelsa State when it was created. At the 11th map, they shifted the boundary from St. Bartholomew to Santa Barbara. Now, when they did that, they took Soku. It took Soku by shifting the boundary. It took Soku into Bayelsa State, and by taking Soku into Bayelsa State, you're saying that not that Bayelsa is now responsible for Soku, or that Soku is now part of Bayelsa State. It is only the oil that is now in Bayelsa State. It doesn't make sense. And that's the argument that people like Akwa Ibom, people like Abia have at different times, where the politicians in Abuja just get up and decide how to shift boundaries around. And so that is the argument. It started during Odili's time. And the argument, because it was about finance, it was put in an escrow account, meaning that until the issue is resolved, that money will stay in an account. It won't go to Bayelsa, it will not go to Rivers State until the court. But then when Odili raised the matter with Atiku, the then Vice President Atiku, and said, look, this thing is in my state, how come it is like this? The National Boundary Commission, the DG, wrote and accepted that they had made a mistake. So now, if they had made a mistake as far back as the 11th edition, which was around 1999, and the 12th edition was going to come up like in 2002 or thereabout, till today they had not corrected that error, even though they had said that they will correct the error. And so that's where the problem is. Now, at what point did the money start going to Bayelsa State? We need to get that information out. There was a time that the Amechi's government was also in court, but the Amechi government also withdrew from the case. Now, the Wike's government now came in and started the case, and judgment is been given. So, as a Rivers person, one, and then as an Akukutoru local government person, two, of course, I'm happy with the judgment. If Bayelsa State is not happy with the judgment, Bayelsa State should appeal the judgment. But the oil well is in Rivers State, and the person that is supposed to fight is the Rivers State government, because this is not an argument between Soku and Bayelsa State. It is between Bayelsa State and Rivers State. It is not an argument between Akukutoro and Bayelsa State government. It is between Bayelsa State government and Rivers State. It's not a problem between Bayelsa State and Kalabari people, or Abonima people, or Soku people. So at what point are we going to allow this to continue to degenerate and begin to actually, yes, we are kith and kin of Bayelsa. Bayelsa is Ijo. Akutoru people are Ijo people. But does that mean that because we're kith and kin, therefore, can we take Bayelsa oil and begin to pay it to Rivers State? Will that be okay? Okay, can we take Delta State and begin to pay it to Bayelsa because there are Ijo people there? Or that Baramatu, the oil in Ijo land in Delta State? No. So these things are being done on purpose. But that's why I blame politics and politicians. And the people who are doing these things are not politicians here. They are politicians in Abuja. The person that made that decision was not Odili, was not Alamesia at that time. If they were, let us get the facts. Let the truth be out there. How did they get to give this oil well? How did they cede it to Bayelsa in 1999 or whatever time? When did Bayelsa become the owner of oil well in Soku, while River State still maintains the physical carcass of Soku? Soku people are Soku people, they're in Akukuto local government area. But the money that is coming from the oil in Soku, that is in Akukuto area, is going to Bayelsa State. And if Wike is fighting against it, or Odili, or Amechi, it's not because they hate Ijo people, it's not because they hate Bayelsa people, it's because they are protecting by right what belongs to River State.
Thank you very much.